Hi, everybody. It's Shap. Welcome to Cutting the Crap with Shap. I'm here with my good friend, father, coach, teacher, investor, and Bacon Barbell founder, Tony Rudy. Tony says hi, I'm going to just say something real quick. So, people that have watched the podcast, I know that I always speak highly of guests that I have because obviously I'm going to have somebody on who I think highly of, but in this instance, um, I would say that out of all of the people that I've met uh, for a long career, uh, Tony is one of those guys that is incredibly humble. I know he's going to be humble tonight, and I'm going to yell at him for being humble, but he will be humble, and um, is somebody who truly has the best interests of other people at hand. And I mean that he truly wants to help people through his actions, his words, and just knowing him as a person. He's obviously right with us, and I'm sure he'll talk about it. But I just want everybody to know that if you do not get in contact with Tony in some way, shape, or form, you should. He's somebody who's incredibly impactful to many people, and somebody who I admire greatly. So, with that said, Tony, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good. That's a heck of an intro, Shap.
I knew you, I knew you were going to say that.
I appreciate that for sure. But yeah, we'll go on from there. Thank you, sir. Well appreciated.
Of course. So, Tony, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. You say whatever you want to say.
All right. So local guy, Pendle, Levittown. Grew up. Dad was a steel worker back in Levittown, like everybody else's dad. Grew up in an awesome neighborhood where, when the steel mill closed, like everybody else's dad, the neighborhood kind of did the best it could to help each other. We had more youth club coaches than any other person on the planet, right? Because half the dads were out of work. And they just happened to be an amazing group of folks that really showed the importance. Like it wasn't even a question that you had to give back, right? You have to give to your community every way that you could. I mean, my dad, when the mill was open, was working every shift he could just so he had time available for my sister, myself, the other kids to coach, to help. I mean, he'd be working midnights, he'd be working 4 to whatever he had to work, constantly changing his schedule. My mom, she started a small business to try to help the family as well at that time. And same thing, like she's 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but still you got to find time, man. You have to. And I grew up with a whole town of that, right? I mean, like, couldn't be more fortunate to have. We could go all night with the names of folks that were impactful and would kick your butt if you needed it, whether they were your father, uncle, neighbor, friend down the road. Didn't matter. We were all free game, right? And so, I did that. Grew up there, went to Kutztown, was lucky enough to play football for a year up there before I ruined my shoulder. And then graduated, got a teaching job, met my wife. Awesome, amazing, as all of us. She saved me, right? She saves all, right?
Yes.
Moved up to Warminster, and it's Levittown in Middle Bucks, right? I mean, we're the blue
Yes.
collar, great area of awesome, amazing community. And that's, you're obviously a piece of that for a long time as well. And we just, that's where I'm at now. I teach at the tech school in Levittown. I teach seniors an economics course that, is like a 21st century economics course. Like we actually teach CPI and GDP, but how to actually use it in your own life. And what does the 10-year bond mean when you're looking to refine it? Like, that's cool that we know all these phrases, but who cares if you can't use it in your own life, right? So we created and we've been running that down at tech school down in Bucks County Technical High School. Been there for 25 years now, I guess, Shap. I mean, I'm getting old, brother. And
Really.
been coaching football, wrestling, and all in the area for 27 years now. 27 years. Not as long as you, but I'm catching up. I'm catching up.
You are catching up.
So,
Long
but yeah,
time.
that's about it. Now we live in Warminster. Been here since like 2001, I think, and just love it. Couldn't be happier.
True. All the stuff you said, and kind of everybody just kind of chiming in. It's interesting. As I did the intro to Tony, all the stuff he said, it was all about kind of helping others, and it got in with a great group of people, and that's what you did. And that was kind of exactly what I thought he would say, just kind of all about other people, which doesn't surprise me. And it's going to be a really different kind of podcast, because in many of the podcasts, there's generally a focus on a theme, and in this one, there will be, we're going to talk a lot about the bacon, but we're also going to talk about a little bit about investing and how to build a team, how to be a team player, leadership, just a whole kind of potpourri of different things that I think Tony will be able to really shine a light on in a really positive way. And actually, we might as well start with this where Tony's sitting. He's sitting at the bacon. So his bacon barbell is Tony's garage. Now, before anybody thinks of anything or any knows anything, you got to see the garage. Okay, you got to see, kind of understand what I'm talking about. Not crazy, crazy big, but an amazing amount of equipment that's of a high quality. And we're not talking about going, we're not talking about going to a sporting goods store and buying a $15 bench here. Like, we're talking about like quality stuff, and that's coming from like, I've been involved in the fitness world for a long, long time. It's got a lot of really good equipment, but you could see behind him, he's got stuff hanging from the ceiling, the little bars and hooks. See all behind him, all the pictures, some of the weights. You kind of see a bench.
Yeah, I'll take you through a tour. Real quick, we'll do a little tour if you wish in a little bit.
Sure.
And we've been beyond blessed, right, with people like yourself and everyone else that helps us. And you'll see as we go through here, the bacon, we use every inch, right? Every possible inch we have to, right? We don't have a choice. We have actual, bars from powerlifting meets that NPL and Bobby Bolin and these other folks, the Gym Rats crew only down in North Carolina. A lot of these people donate to us, right? And they give us equipment for the kids. And it's silly. I mean, the bars we have are all Texas bars, right? We have one Rogue, but mostly Texas bars. Right from the competition was over, we load up the truck. Bobby gives us the bars. We try to buy them. He yells at us. It's the support we get, again, is just silly. But we have, the ER rack that we're holding on to right now. That's crazy. I never in my wildest dreams would I imagine that we'd have an ER rack, you know what I mean, in my garage. But again, people are beyond great to us. And I'll just kind of spin you around the room a little. There's just way too much to see. But we have our records board on the back, for the kids to put their names and number on. We have, and this is nuts, man. This is where it started. So this is our Marcy, right? Marcy's, it is what it is.
Yep.
Craig, we can't kill this thing, right? We've been using this thing, and we tell our kids, right? Rule 1, the only thing that can break in here is you. So smash stuff, drop it, do whatever you have to do. Craig, we can't kill this thing, right? It's nuts. That's been with us since the beginning. But it just goes on and on and on. And everywhere you look, it's funny, we had guys up here before. We have all the bars, blah, 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 right? Everywhere you look, you're going to find more stuff in here because we just keep stuffing more stuff in because of the generosity, first of all, right, of everyone that helps us, that donates, that gives us stuff, or obviously Facebook Marketplace we're on constantly. And like every coach is on there. Matt Mandel or whoever will just show up with a 100-pound kettlebell. Hey, I got this great buy, or, I picked this inside. This is the crazy part. We have a split level, so we live in Warminster, and our bottom level, the kids took over, right? There's a wrestling mat in there. There's 5 pieces of cardio. There's a reverse hyper in there, that other people do. My wife has lost the entire bottom floor and garage. And she's cool with it, right? Like Mama Rudy's perfectly fine with it.
Your wife is amazing too.
It's nuts. Like everything just fell in line, like, and then kids show up, right? I mean, kids show up, and
Okay, take a pause. So I'm going to stop you for a sec, okay? So Tony just mentioned something. Okay, this will be our first little talking point. Why did I know I'm going to yell at you, so I'll catch myself. But why do kids show up?
so honestly, the reason that kids are showing up, a lot of this group is combined with a lot of awesome dads and moms, right? That we know. My son is a junior in high school at William Tennant. So the bacon has been with, a lot of his crew is where this started from. And a lot of those parents are really, really involved. And from there, it just organically grew to, we have so many awesome adults that help from everywhere. I mean, Craig, from everywhere that we have kids that come from Abington, North Penn, Father Judge. I mean, from Hatboro, from all over the place. And they're coming because, again, they know somebody who went here or goes here, whose father helps out here or whoever. And it's just one giant, amazing, awesome community. And honestly, I just live here, right? I just opened the door. These people are the ones truly that drive everything that's here. And
Okay.
again, I'm just happy just to open the door every day and smile and watch the kids come in, and some parents will stop by and help
Mhm.
coach out. Or you were here yesterday, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I opened the door and there's Coach Shap. Like today, Coach Brian showed up. It's awesome, man. And it's just the waves just keep going. Girls, guys, doesn't matter, man. Like we have it all. So I'm just super happy every time I click that garage door and it opens, and you get to see, man, all the help, the cavalry's there and all the kids are coming, and Craig, it's awesome.
So everything that Tony said is true. Everything he said is true. He missed something, which of course I will bring up. Is yes, he's right that it is a very strong, positive community of adults and kids. Um, but I'll kind of add on to that, and he can correct me if I'm wrong. I asked him why people come back. He didn't really answer the question. Why people come? He said that because of families and connections. And I'll say people are coming because they get opportunities to get better, and they get opportunities to learn. They get opportunities to be around really positive role models, people that have their best interest at hand. And this is kind of how I see it as a coach and a teacher, and doing it a long time. Is if I'm running a program and kids don't feel that I have their interest at hand, they'll initially come because they don't know that. But then once they find out that I don't have their interest at hand, they'll leave and they'll go someplace else, or they
Yeah.
won't do anything. And then other kids won't come because ultimately, Tony's just talking about word of mouth. Like that's why people are coming. They're coming from word of mouth. Somebody says, "Oh my God, I was at the bacon and this was great, and man, it was awesome." And then that next kid comes, and that kid says, "Oh my God, I was at the bacon and it was awesome." And that is coming from Tony, who's an amazing leader, somebody who really cares about kids, and obviously other people. I'm not going to deny that there's not
Sure.
a lot of other people involved. There are, but I do think that it starts with Tony, because he's the person who really kind of heads it. It is a family, but he's the person who runs it, and I think people really see that you have their best interest at hand. You really want kids to be successful, and it shows in the results. How have you made it so kids want to really keep coming back even when there's struggles?
So we look at this place. I call it, when the kids come in, we give them a lot of different things, like what to expect here. Number one, we go over our rules and the safety and all that. But the big thing we stress here is this is your place to come. No dramas allowed to live here, right? This is your place to escape the world, man. And in here, This is where you can show up, you can lift it out, we can laugh it out, whatever. But the world we leave out there on the street, when you come in here, we're going to lift, we're going to laugh, we're going to forget about everything, and we're just going to have a good time with each other. And then afterwards, right, there's certain times of the year, my wife will cook for 9 to 11 kids dinner 4 times a week sometimes. And they'll all go up and eat at my wife and I can't even eat in the kitchen. It's fantastic. We love it. Our kitchen, the counters, the tables, everything's full with these kids sitting around by themselves. We're out in the living room, eating a meal, sharing a good meal, a macro balance, because my wife's a biology nurse. She's a smart one. And so she cooks for that. So the kids come from here. In the summer, they go in the pool together and go swimming, and then they go. And that's why I think it is, because we really are that old Pendle, Levittown. We're all family, man. Like when you come in, you're gonna be family, right? The flu ran through our house this week. We had soup dropped off at our house day after day from different people, right? From the bacon folks and that's the way it is. There's Craig. This is cool. When anyone's in need, right? We just start what we call an envelope, and we just write on it, envelope. We put it up on the kitchen table, and we tell the kids, I don't care if you put $2 in there, but, let's say Craig needs help, right? He's at whatever. That envelope could stay there, and within 2 weeks, it might have $300, $400, $500 cash. Now, mind you, again, she's feeding 9 to 11 kids. That envelope stays on the table, wide open for 2-3 weeks, whatever it takes. Never even thought of touched, right? You know what I mean? And kids will sometimes we'll get $4 put in there, or I want to give, but I don't have what? Family. It's the feeling I think we try to communicate with everyone is you can be whatever you want outside of there, but inside here, you're ours. You're family, you're ours. I don't care what you fit into or don't fit into or crowd or whatever. When you're in here, you're with us, man. You're ours, right? And we see you in public, you're ours. You get our shirts. You get our sweatshirts. Well, whatever we can buy and give you, we're going to give you. And you're ours. We're family now from here on out. And that's the way I was, luckily, you know what I mean? And with the Pendle Wildcats and all that back in the day. And that's what I hope. My wife was the same way, in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Her family drove everyone to the games in their Volvo station wagon, you know what I mean? And I really, really hope. Here's my hope, Craig, right? Then you ask, why do kids come back? I tell them, because, we try to get kids, can we pay? No, we're never going to. Someday, when you get a garage, open a bacon.
Yeah.
Right? That's the payment. The payment is 10, 15 years from now, invest in your kids in your community, right? And kids are excited. I can't wait to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to. Hopefully, Craig, someday they drive down the road here and we're long gone and they look at that garage and they slow down and they go, you know what I did there? I used to, you know what I mean? And I don't know, man, that's, to me, that's why I think that folks come back is everyone's family. You can't leave, right? I mean, if you try, we're going to call you. What's the matter? What's wrong? What do you need to talk about? Can we help you? Can we tutor you? What's the matter? Come on back, And look, we do have, again, we are a family. So sometimes we do have to have tough conversations with young men and young women where, hey, maybe you need some time off, get yourself, you know what I mean? We still play that role. And this, again, with so many of us, the other night, my son had a law. He won, but he got a little mouthy, and the ref banged him a point for it in wrestling. And I'm glad he did. I love that kind of stuff, right? He had 3 dads call or reach out to him that night and give him a what for, but also pick him up.
Sure.
I mean, that's how do you put a price on that? These are 3 bacon coach dads that took time out of their night to say, hey, what you do? You know what I mean? Now, listen, here's what you love it, man. And I think we're that way with everybody. I really do. And like I said, sometimes, yes, we do have to have some tough conversations with a kid here and there that's maybe acting a fool or whatnot. But the support, and I don't know, man. I think that's it. I think it's the family.
I think what's interesting you're talking about, and you're talking about character, which is something I think deeply about all the time as an educator and coach, and um, you're talking about teaching kids character. How to be a good person. And by the way, Tony's son Brock is a he is a great young man. He's got
So
really
far.
okay, whatever.
Oh,
He's a great young man. He's got really good
thank you.
values. He's a hard worker. Got a lot of that stuff from you and your wife. But one of my questions I would ask is, how do you how do you make this happen in our schools? Like, how do you build that kind of camaraderie and teamwork in our schools? Because I can tell you, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I never see it. So I
Right.
don't.
No, I'm with you. I'm with
But
you
I
100%. I mean, you
but
and I have been in public schools for a long time, and
yep.
we long for this, right? I mean, this is what we want. We want to see kids bonding, building, going through it together, picking each other up. Um, Honestly, at least in from what my classes and stuff like that, Craig, and you're this guy, right? And a lot of people know who you are, right? And you're this guy. You're genuine, right? That's it. That's it. That's the secret sauce, right? Be a genuine person that I'm gonna, listen, if you need to be held accountable, I'm gonna hold you accountable.
Right.
But at the other end of it, you're gonna know I love you by the end of the time we're together, right? You're gonna know that we shared time, and I truly will care about you. And that means I'm going to yell at you from time to time and hold you accountable. You're worth that to me, right? I'm going to, hey, Craig, you can't lift here for a couple months. You need some time off to straighten out your priorities. And then I hope you come back, right? Like, but in the most part, honestly, Craig, I think that's it, man. You just need one. You and I have talked about this ad nauseum, and me and a lot of coaches, right? I graduated college in 98. When I graduated in 98, a benefit was that I played sports and I could coach sports
Mm-hmm.
and bring that to a district, right? That because, you were a captain, you were all Bucks, you were all, whatever, right? So you had those leadership where you had those qualities taught to, I had them taught to me by seniors above me, by juniors above me, by coaches. That helped me get a job, right? And I hate it, but right now we're just in a weird spot in public education where I wouldn't get hired today. I had a 2.75 GPA coming out of college, but I could coach your wrestling team, your football team, your baseball team. I will, I am a great soldier. I will, like I'm going to pour everything I have into it. I wouldn't even get past the resume search right now. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would be in another profession because I had under a 3.0 when I graduated. Right now, here we are 27 years later. I'm still trying my best. I still think I'm trying to do a pretty good job, but they don't hire me's and you's anymore. Right. And it's sad to say, but it's the truth. They really, really don't, at least in Lower Bucks County. We had a guy, Craig, and we just got him a job this year, but this guy's been at it for like 5 years
Yeah.
trying. And this guy, I'm telling you, you have one conversation with him and you're saying to yourself, we got to find a job. I don't care. Like this guy cares. He's going to pour 5 years or so. He's been subbing and long term and this and that. And schools just anymore. It's so frustrating. To try to, back when you and I were playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Football, let's say, for example, I went to Neshaminy. If we had 9 or 10 coaches on the staff, 5 of them were in the building.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 5 of
Yeah.
them were in the building and maybe 3 others were in the middle school or something like that. But 5 of those coaches you were going to see throughout the day. So you better not be, fooling around. 5 of those coaches you were going to see. So you better be at practice. Because you got to show up tomorrow. Like raising a child, right? A young adult. Sometimes athletics is truly, again, that's what I needed, right? That's what I needed to see the light of the value of education I didn't really see it till I was about 20, 21, right? But in high school, because I had a lot of coaches and everything in the building all day around, they didn't let me fall through the cracks, Craig.
Yeah.
And that's powerful, man. That's they easily. If my coaches weren't in that building, I could tell you right now, I would have fell through the cracks. I would have been ineligible week after week. I would have been missing practices, and I would have been, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
just because my crew was out. They were going to do that or whatever. But these guys were there every day. These guys are going to talk to my parents. I got to be a practice. I got to be there. I got to be trying my hardest. I got accountability. I think in this day and age, especially with education, is way more important than education. You know what I mean? Like when you're helping raise these young adults, they're going to fall. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to run into those cracks. You need someone at that school that they have that relationship with. And it's tough because right now you look around, most coaches, no matter what sport, are not in the building. And it's frustrating because you're letting kids slip through the cracks, whether you mean to or not. That's just the reality of it, right?
I think you're spot on. I mean, we always talk about. I mean, I've talked to many coaches, people I work with, about coaches in the building, and I wholeheartedly agree. I also would add that there is not enough high expectations on people. Um, there is this, and again, I'm not making a generalization of everybody, every coach, every teacher, every school. I'll just say that in my experience, especially over maybe the last 15 years or so, I've seen a really big drop off in, you say accountability, which I like. I kind of say high expectations. Like, this is what we expect of you, not just as an athlete or a student, but also as an educator, as a leader, as a coach. These are the expectations that we put on you to be able to make our school community program better. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not able to do that, that's okay. That's okay. You can go your own way. It's kind of like, hey, if you need a couple months off, you take it.
Right.
That's something I think that's really lacking. And I know that when I spent all those years coaching, there was never a day where I didn't think about not giving it my all. Now there were days where I didn't want to.
Right. Right.
There were days where I didn't want to,
Sure.
because for millions of reasons. But at the end of the day, I always thought to myself, if I'm coming here, I cannot expect an athlete, a student, even a coach I'm working with to work their rear ends off if I myself am not doing the same thing.
Right.
And I think that's something that it goes back to kind of like the bacon of, you have people thriving because they see everybody else putting in the work, and
Mm.
that it really makes sense. Is when I was talking, actually it's funny, I was talking to my class today. It was interesting. I was talking to one of my classes. We're getting ready for the end of the semester. I was talking to them. I had to make a list. I just put on the board 1 to 15. And I said, right now, just to yourself, I want you to just think about your past self. So you're back in the end of August, you're getting ready to start school again. And you fast forward X number of months, what have you done well? And it was all quiet, like no group work, do it yourself. And then on the other side of the board was, you're going back to that end of August, the school year starts, and you fast forward. What do you wish you would have done better?
Mm.
And we looked at the list, and then we kind of broke into groups and talked about it. And it was fascinating to me, and I think this will resonate with you. Things that kids talked about: effort, attitude, commitment,
Mm.
dedication, diet, sleep, teamwork, helping each other, intensity level. They talked about all of these things, and they gave them numbers from 1 to 10, you know? And they were really honest. It was very striking to me. And this is each class. The carryover from one class to the other without them knowing it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, like the same words: programming,
Mm.
persistence, using percentages. And for people who don't know, I teach lifting class, like a lifting class. So it's a strength training class. And, we do a lot of in-depth stuff. So if you don't know what I mean by that, I apologize. That's kind of what I mean. That's the kind of the terminology that they're using. But I brought the kids in at the end, and I had on the board, I told you my acronym FRAT, right? Food, rest,
Mm-hmm.
attitude, training. I had that on the board, and underneath each letter, I had 10 things that I talked about. And I'm not going to go into, we don't have the time to go into them all, but bottom line was, I said to the students, and this is something that I think you do so well at the Bacon, is in order to get to the next level for people that are listening, and I'm not talking about athletics, I'm talking about in anything, any part of life, relationships, your job, your own personal life, your wellness. There are steps that you need to take to get there. If you don't take those steps, you might get some of the way, but you won't get all of the way. And no matter how good you are, and I'll say this to everybody, when it comes to my own wellness, me personally, from my food, out of a 10, I would give myself a 9 most of the time. My rest, I would give myself a 9 most of the time. My attitude, I would give myself a 10 most of the time. My training, I would give myself a 9 or a 10 most of the time. Now, and obviously, if somebody thinks that's bragging, they could think that, but that's just what I think. Um, but I said the key thing there, most of the time, not all of the time. Nobody's perfect, and I think that goes back to something else that is sorely lacking in schools and our world and our communities, is this idea that you can't make a mistake. Like if you
Yeah.
make a mistake, you're a failure. And I don't really understand. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit, but I don't really understand that thinking. Like, we're human beings, right? We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have lots of successes, but we're not going to be perfect. And in order for all of us to be better, we need to understand that if we do 9 things well and we make one mistake, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
negate the 9 things that we did well.
Yep. Yeah, I right with you, right? I mean, I talk about this in my class because back, we didn't have cell phones when you and I grew up, right? So we could make our mistakes, and you'd come in on Monday and you knew people were going to hammer you, but by Tuesday, Wednesday, it's kind of waning off, and then the next weekend, it's your turn to make the mistake, right? And I'm off the hook, but now everything is here, right? I got you, and it's tough, man. But I'm a huge believer, and this will go back to I've known the ref that rightfully so and thankfully hit my son with an unsportsmanlike point last week, and it ended up costing him the match, right? Because they were tied and it came down to criteria. And I loved that he did it because now you get to see what your kid's made of. And I don't think, at least from what I see, you can't be afraid to throw young people into those situations where they're
Yeah.
going to publicly fail. I want him to publicly, people think I'm weird when I say that. I want my son to publicly fail because that's all sports is about. Sports has nothing to do with wins and losses. You can't control that. You just can't. I mean, you can dominate but in the end, right, there's always going to be somebody better.
Yes.
But sports, you publicly fail. My son's a wrestler. I was a football guy, right? But I can kind of get lost in the other 11 play. He's a wrestler. There's no denying you just got smoked, right? How do you react? How do you recover? How do you constantly surround that human with enough? And this is where, again, you and everybody, I love the family aspect of, as a parent, I'll let go. And if you get to him first, you let him have it. You know what I mean? And I'll come in and clean up afterwards. But, to me, I love the public failure, whether it be, to me, that's what athletics is, right? You're going to transfer that stuff because it's all over. And someday your kid's going to be up at 3 a.m. screaming, crying when they're 1 year old. And what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You're going to get back on the mat. That's what you're going to do. That's the life transfer. And I I really do enjoy it. I'm not saying it has to be athletics. That was just my
Sure.
way of doing things, right? I don't care if it's an academic. I don't care if it's chorus. I don't care if it's anything. Let them fail, right? Let them fail publicly and have enough people around them to know that, all right, I failed. I messed up. But being tough, it's not making excuses. It's not running from it. I told him that night. He came over to me after the match, and I said, no. I said, you go face your team, and you take whatever medicine they have for you, son. That's being tough. Being tough is going there and saying, I screwed up. Let me have it. Right? That's being tough. That's what sports is supposed to teach you. Face it head on right now. Mm-hmm. Right? Don't come to me. Get out of here. And he did. He went over, and the next, he went over that night. He rode the bus, this and that. He apologized to the team first thing the next day when they were there. And, I think that, Craig, that piece of us letting kids know we want you to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. We want you to fall because we're the adults, will pick you up. You know what I mean? Like, we will pick you up. We'll be there. So go ahead. And again, creating an environment like this or in your class, or I'm sure kids might have graduated 20 years ago, Craig, and they can still call you, right? Mm-hmm. I give my kids my phone number at the end of the school year, my seniors. Yep. Because I teach economics. You got a question about whatever. I get more phone calls of, hey, can I talk to you? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. When you're 20, 22, 23, it's okay I'm still failing.
But not everybody. The only thing is, Tony, is not everybody's doing that though. Like you're doing.
And I understand. Not everybody's comfortable that way. Right.
But I don't even mean the phone calls. I don't mean that. I mean a much more general thing of I know for a fact, excuse me, I know for a fact that what your son did when he got back on the bus and said this is not something that every kid would do. They won't.
I'd like to think that they would, and I know what you're saying, right?
They wouldn't, though. They wouldn't. You can think that because you want to think it, and I'll say it as a fact, they wouldn't. Some kids would, but not every kid. Because not every kid has been taught that character piece that we were talking about. Building that character, being a strong young person who is confident enough in themselves to be able to say, hey, I messed up. Hey, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. That is how we make our society better. We teach people good values. I always say to kids that I teach, if I make a mistake, I will be the first person to say I'm sorry. Right to your face. I will say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, my bad. But also, I'm expecting you to forgive me. And I think that kind of goes, how do we make the world a better place? And I think a lot of that comes down to just simply, how do we treat each other?
Without a doubt, brother. And I do. So when the kids were young, right, they would come in and they would watch me lift, right? And I'm a broken down 50-year-old ex-nobody, right? But they would watch me lift, right? And I would tell them, watch. And I would fail in front of them, right? I mean, I'm going for it. And I would fail in front of them. And I think that's important. How do I handle that? And listen, I'm 50. I'm going to tell you, there's still times I don't handle it correctly. I'm not blind, and I have a terrible temper. I mean, I've worked my whole life to try to control I know I have a terrible temper, but I'm still working on it. Yeah, does that sound weird, right? I mean, I'm 50 years old. I'm still working on it, and it's okay to say that, right? It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, we're all still working on it, man. Come work on it with me.
First of all, I don't think it's weird. And it's being vulnerable is a character strength. It shows that you're confident enough in yourself, in your belief system, to allow that to happen. I was joking around with my class, and we were talking about, like how we dress for school. And I always tell kids, like, yo, you see me with a Life is Good t-shirt on every day. I said, if you think that I'm thinking deeply about what I'm wearing, You're you're wrong. I said because I'm not worried about that.
Right.
If that's what you're worried about and that's what I'm worried about, wow, we got some things we need to really work on. And they're like, Shap, what are you worried about? And I said to them, first of all, I don't like worried. I'll say what I'm thinking about is when I come into school, am I giving you the best I got? Am I coming in each day and trying to be a positive role model for you so you're not miserable?
Mm,
Am I coming in each day and trying to teach you something, one thing that maybe you didn't know? And
mm,
that's a lot more than a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or whatever it is. It's a lot more than that. Those are the things that, you know, that being vulnerable piece is, I will say this too. It's interesting. It's not really a kind of an argument. It's more of a thing. I don't really believe in failing, and I'll tell you why. Okay, I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. So when people say it's okay to fail, it's good to fail, I kind of say to them, I don't like the word fail. I think it's okay to not be successful, but I don't like the word fail because to me, when you fail at something, what exactly does that mean? So I'll relate it to everybody listening. Tony and I are both powerlifters. We both are competitive powerlifters, and I'll just relate it like this. He knows this. I told Tony this the other day. So I had a competition last year, and I really I really was disappointed in myself with how I handled the situation. I didn't handle my weight the right way, and generally I'm very meticulous, like very meticulous with things. But I just didn't. I don't need to go into details. I just didn't handle it the right way, and I ended up not doing nearly as well as I would have hoped to. But I don't think I was a failure. I don't think I failed. I just didn't do quite as well as I would have liked because I didn't do certain things that I should have done. That doesn't make me a failure. It just means that I wasn't as successful as I need to be. Now, I would say that if I competed and said, man, I suck today, I'm quitting this, that was a failure, and then I
mm.
stopped doing it, I wouldn't say I failed, I would say that I quit. And to me, there's a very big difference. It's much more of a mindset.
So
You know,
you and I are just using different words.
exactly.
I've told this to kids I've coached. Again, I have no problem with what I call you failing. I asked you to do this, you didn't do it. What I do have a problem with is you being defeated. I
Yes.
will not stand for defeat. You are not done. You are never done, right? So you failed that task or whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
but I will not allow you to be defeated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You are never to be defeated. There is no you're calling it quit. Whatever. That's what I'm calling it, right? So Craig, I asked you to do 10 and you did 9. You failed that at 10. That's fine. But next week you're going to get 10.
Mm-hmm.
You're not defeated. You're not going to walk away. You're going to dust up. You're going to face it and say, you know what? And then I'm going to come back. So I think we're saying the same thing. We're
We
just
are.
using different words, right?
Yeah, I just don't my thing is I just don't like the word fail. Like
Okay.
if I'm coaching somebody and they're doing, let's say, and they're doing a bench press and their goal is 10 and they get 9, I wouldn't say to them you failed. I would say, hey man, that was a great effort. You know, you got 9. That's a really good effort. Keep at it. You know, maybe it didn't work out exactly this plan. Next time we're going to go for 10. That is the verbiage I'd use. I would
Mm-hmm.
say it in a way where to get them thinking like, no, you didn't fail. This just didn't work out exactly as you planned. And that's going to happen in all aspects of life. Just kind of how things are. I want to transition. Is that okay?
Yeah, man.
Because I'm just looking at time. And I mean, we'll do a part 2.
Sounds good, man. I'm
Yeah,
in.
we'll do a part 2. I want to cover something that. Can you tell me? I want to hear what you have to say here. What is another passion of yours?
Oh boy. Besides travel, right, and being a wanderer, investing,
Thank
right,
you.
teaching anyone that'll listen to me how to invest, just be more financially savvy, right? Um, I've taught it in Philadelphia for different youth and volunteer organizations. I've used to teach it at Christ Home right here in Warminster for an organization. I did it at night school. I do it for a job. I'll tell anybody, man, you want to sit and talk like credit scores or Roth IRAs or 529s or whatever. I'm your guy, right? Well, I want to learn something from you, and I'm going to tell you everything I know, and let's defeat this together, right? So that is a passion of mine, without a doubt, brother, is all the stuff you and I were not taught growing up. I was just talking to a girl today, and we were talking about math because she writes so concrete, sequential, right? And being an educator, these little, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you must be fantastic at math. And she goes, no. She goes, I love math, but I'm terrible at it. And I said, you know what? So was I. I hated math in high school. I said, but again, it took me till I was about 28.
Mm-hmm.
And I started looking at money. And I thought, boy, I kind of like math. This compounding stuff's cool. This rule of 772, boy, that's a neat calculator when you punch that money in there, right? So, again, that's my definitely a passion, man. I wish that I could teach the class I teach. I wish I could teach it to the world, man. I really do. And I know Pennsylvania just passed a thing, right? And people are going to be reading from a book or giving out a sheet that they gave. You can't do that. And with my principal, we talked about this. I said, hey, man, listen, I'm at a tech school, right? Whatever you teach these kids, they're going to use, whether you're right or wrong. Keep that in mind, right? Yep. They're going to have a million questions, right? They're going to, a Roth. Well, how does that differ? You better be right. Kid dumps 10 grand into that thing. You know what I mean? Like, you better be right. You can't be wrong when you're doing this stuff. So that's, again, just a huge passion of mine, man. A huge, huge passion is how to create your own path to make this journey what you see it, what you want, right? We weren't made to be wage slaves, right? We were made, we're here for a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
See it all, man. See every bit of it. And finance has a big part in that. I'd love to tell you it doesn't, but it does.
It's so funny you say that because I knew you were going to say, I figured you were going to say investing because we talked about it before, but it's very funny. For those of people who maybe are just watching this for the first time who don't know me, I'm a health and physical education teacher. And I can tell you that in my classes, all of them, I always do a financial literacy lesson. And I'm talking about in my fitness classes. It has nothing to do with fitness, but it's something to get them educated. And the number of kids that will come back to me and ask me questions about it, like, oh my God, Shap, how do we do that? And to understand how to build wealth is one of the most critical things that any of us can do. And for people that are watching there, I'm going to say this, that if you have a question for Tony or I, and listen, neither of us are we're not CPAs.
Nope.
We don't own businesses, but both of us are passionate about investing. I was over the bacon yesterday, and we were talking about investing. I gave him a couple different quotes of different things to think about. And he gave me one too. And we were talking about it, and I'm going to give you a couple tips, and kind of think of it as this: like, you're not only getting some knowledge about building a team and exercise and wellness, you're also getting some, I guess, tips on building wealth. Okay, and I'm sure Tony will chime in. I'm going to ask him to, and if he has something to kind of let's say I say something he doesn't agree with, he could say it. So here we go. I'm going to give you, just off the top of my head, some things I think about. No matter who you are, no matter what age, get started.
Without a doubt.
That's number one. Get started. Even if it's $5 a month, get started investing. There's so many apps out there right now that you can use to start investing your money. And this is not a plug towards Robinhood, but Robinhood is incredibly easy. It's incredibly easy to use. So get started early, okay? Number
right,
two.
and I'm a Vanguard guy, right? I mean,
Yep.
I love Vanguard.
Yep.
One, they're a local company, right? But two, I love them because all you got to do is call.
Yep.
You don't have to know anything, right? You have your routing number, you got your bank account number, and you just got to call, right?
Now,
and say, I'd like to open up a Roth IRA. They say, great. And then you say, here's my routing number, here's my bank account number. They take 2 test hits to make sure it's your money. Bing, bom, boom. You fill out paperwork. And then the next thing you know, how much you want each week, Craig, or you want a month, whatever. Boom, it's done. Where do you want it to go? Well, if you can read a menu at a diner, you can pick a mutual fund, right? I mean, you just look at you don't even need to know what half that stuff means. All you got to know is the oldest and the highest, right? You look for the oldest one with the highest percentage. And that's to me, that's a girl I take to the prom, is the one I knew since kindergarten, right? I'm not taking a girl that just walked into class. I'm taking the one I knew since kindergarten. We've been great friends. I know we're going to have a good time, right? I've known her since kindergarten, right? That's my high percentage, I'm going to do all right here. So, again, it's just not brain surgery. We just were never taught. That's what I tell all my kids. Don't go back and smart mouth your parents. And why didn't you start? What? We didn't know this stuff. They didn't teach us this stuff, right?
Well, the ease of learning it now is so much. It's so much more. There's so much more information. And when I say Robinhood, it doesn't have to be Robinhood. It's just Robinhood is something you can do it on your phone. It's very easy to do. You link your bank account. It takes 5 minutes, and you can buy. And this is really important for people to understand. And to me, it's one of the most critical things about investing. Years ago, so I'm 59, I started investing around, I guess, probably 30, 31 or 32. You could not, well, first of all, there was no internet back then, so you couldn't just hop on your phone because there were no phones.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is now is you can sit there, and if you have, let's say, $30 in your account, you can type in a symbol, an ETF, a mutual fund, a stock, let's say Apple, and say, I want to buy $5 of Apple. In a matter of 15 seconds, you can type in AAPL, $5, hit the swipe up button. You now bought $5 of Apple. Yeah. It's that easy.
That crazy?
The ease of use for people, I think, is really important. The next thing I'd say to you is be consistent. So as Tony mentioned, he said through Vanguard, like how often, monthly, weekly. And it's not for me to say to anybody here how often, because everybody's financial situation is unique. I'll just say be consistent. If you're doing
Craig jumping in on this, what I use in class, be Netflix, be LA Fitness. And here's what I mean. LA gyms are successful because you give them permission to go into your bank account, pull that money out every month, right? And then you get used to it. And as humans, we do not like to break up with things. We don't like confrontation. The only way to break that relationship up is to go to LA Fitness and argue with you don't want to do that, right? So you donate to the gym over and over until you finally say enough. Why don't we use that habit to make us rich instead of LA Fitness and Netflix, right? So this is what I tell the kids. When you're going to set up a Roth or whatever you're going to set up, have it come out. What do you do at the 7th, 14th, 20th, whatever, right? Make it a habit. And instead of making Netflix rich, make you rich. Once it becomes a habit, you're already doing it. Do it to you, right? So, and that's where we get, listen, Netflix makes a gazillion dollars because that's their business model. They take $14, $20, whatever it is, and you don't care, $20. All right.
Well, you don't. Here's the thing. I'm going to follow up with that. The reason LA Fitness, Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, all of these companies, the reason they're so successful is because, and this goes back to my original point about investing, is many times, and it's true that some people literally do not have the money to invest. That is true.
Sure.
That is true.
Yep.
But by and large, there is a large percentage of people who say that they don't have money, but they're spending $20 a month on Netflix, or they're going to Starbucks each day. And what I say to people is very simple. When you buy Netflix, unless you are really budget conscious, you don't even see the money disappearing. It just disappears. You don't see it. You know it. You know it's going, but you're not looking at your statement and saying, "Oh, on January 18th, this is happening." It happens. It's the same thing with investing. Is once you get into the habit of the second week of every month, I'm going to have X dollars taken out, and it's going to go into X stock or X fund. After a couple months, you won't even notice it's happening because it will happen automatically. And before you know it, you look at your statement and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe, look how much money I have. And the great thing about it is you can always either go down or up. So let's just say you were investing and you were putting $10 a month in. And at some point, maybe you got a raise, maybe you got a bonus, whatever it is, and you say, oh, I could do now, I could do 15. Now you're doing $15 a month, and maybe you're doing $20 a month, and maybe there's a tough time. Maybe you got to go down to $5 a month. You can always change it, but it's like you're always on that treadmill moving. Sometimes you're moving fast, sometimes you're moving slow, but you're always moving forward. You're never stopping. That's one of the things that I say all the time. I've been both of my kids. Well, my daughter's out of college, my son is finishing, and even when my kids were in college, I had to really kind of tamper down my investment because it just didn't have that much money. It was paying for the college. But even then, I was finding $5. I wasn't not a lot, $5, $10, a
Mhm.
little bit. If I got an extra check from work or something for doing something, I took some of that and put it into that. And you got to stay the course. And my last tip before I have Tony chime in, give some of his advice on it, is this: um, don't try to oversmart yourself. And what I mean by that is simple. Um, this is the philosophy that I live by, and it served me really well, and it's something I really believe. You want to buy companies that you know and use. So, my favorite company that I own is Costco. Go to Costco on the weekend and see it's a mob scene. Costco has about a 92% renewal rate. That means everybody who joins Costco in 2025, if there's 100 people to join, 92 of them will be joining again in the next year. People keep coming back. It's a membership fee. Buy companies that you know and love. If that seems too complicated, okay, you can buy a basket of companies called the S&P 500. It's called, one of them is called VOO, VOO. You could just buy VOO, and it's just the S&P 500. And some people might think that's a little complex. I apologize, but it is very, very simple. So that is my kind of investment stuff. And I'm sure when Tony and I do part two, maybe we'll plan it out. Maybe we do a little bit more about investing in there to kind of get you thinking about it. But there is absolutely no reason. If you have kids that are in high school, please get them investing. Teach them about it. Tony, you want to give
Yeah.
some investing advice?
Yeah. So the way we always start, whether I'm teaching adults, kids, whatever, the way we always start is we do a spending log. This is tough. So adults, I only make them do it 2 weeks, right? For 2 weeks, you got to write down every penny you spend, every bit of it. You got to write down the date, what it was, this
Yeah.
and that, and be as close as you can to, guesstimate. Um, Students, I make them do it for 30 days. I don't look at it, right? And I tell them, I don't care what you have to write down. Listen, title things miscellaneous. I don't care. You got to know what that means, and you got to write it down, right? So then from there, we come through it and we look for patterns, right? I mean, that's it. You look for patterns. What is your disease? Are you an impulse buyer? Are you a habit buyer? Are you a status buyer? These things are pretty simple to figure out. Is 68% of your money going to Taco Bell at 1:00 on Friday morning? You know what I mean? And then our goal is from there, just cut 10%. That's it. Our goal is to take 10%, put it in your sock drawer, put it I don't care. Right. And then when you get enough money, then we're going to go to Vanguard later. Then we're going to talk. Then we're going to do. But in the meantime, the rules of money, there's no emotion involved with economics. You can't have, I don't care. I just want to make money, right? And number two, money has rules. It's got to be spent the following way. It's got to be needs, investments, and then whatever's left over, buy all the wants you want. Honestly, right? Buy 5 Mercedes, set them on fire. I don't care. But needs, then investments, then, right? And what we've gotten to is right now, most people, in my experience, why do you have a job? Because I want to buy, because I got to pay for, because right? So they take their paycheck and all they think about is their wants, scramble, for their needs at the end of the month. And there's never money left over for investments, man, right? Because money's telling you what to do, right? You need to tell it what to do and control it. It's right. If not, it's going to tell you what to do, and that's all emotion driven. Every bit of it's emotion driven. Now, listen. I grew up. We lived very well when the mill was open. When the mill closed, we did not. I waited in that cheese line. You know what I mean? Like I know I've had, you know what I mean, that experience. So, again, and I watched my parents, and it was needs, you know what I mean? And then there was no money really for investments or not a whole lot for wants, but they made it needs have to be met.
Yep.
And then now I'm in a position where, my wife and I, we've done well enough that we do have needs, then we do have money for, and it took us a while. We worked 2 jobs, up until a couple of years ago. My wife and I you work a part-time and a full-time.
Yep.
I have goals, right? That's just the way it is. So again, we always start with the spending log. You can't go to the doctor, right? And just stare at them and keep your mouth shut. You got to give them your symptoms. You got to give her your symptoms. You got to tell them what you're doing, and then they can diagnose you. Without that, how are you going to do anything? You're just throwing darts in the dark, right? So the first thing is do a spending log. And it's brutal. It's brutal, man. Listen, I do one every couple of years for me, and I just, oh, man, she's going to kill me. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough, but you got to do it, right? You got to face that. And then after that, then we talk about building it and so forth. And I have 3 rules in my investment strategy. We'll get deeper into this in the next one. But rule 1 is 6 months worth of bills in the bank in some form, whether it's home equity, whether it's cash, whether it's I don't care. But that emergency account, again, when the mill closed, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we didn't have that. And I saw like my parents have to scramble and do it. And they did a fantastic job. I never went without food or any of that stuff. But, Dad's cutting trees around in the neighborhood, telling people he don't have to cut trees down, but he's doing it because he needs the wood for the heat. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that's what you got to do, right? So rule 1, 6 months worth of bills in the bank, and get that done at 18, start it, get that habit. Rule 2, crush debt, revolving an installment. And we could talk about that next time and all the tricks for that. And then rule 3, invest in you. Invest in you. Split up what they call now in the financial world your buckets, right? But invest in you. And we have that's it. That's it, right? And listen, I'm not painting a picture like, when you're 30 and you have 2 kids and it's that easy. But when you're 18, it is. When you're 19, it is. When you're starting out, it is. And to go back now, full circle. Once we're habit people. We are, right? Every human out there. I don't assign seats in my class, Craig. I can guarantee you the kid sitting right where he's at now will be there in June in the same seat.
Yeah. Right.
We're habit people, right? We are. That's what we are. So, like you were saying, consistency, force the good habit consistently. Sooner or later, like you said, things are going to start to look. Oh, wait a minute. I have I'm 13,000 net worth, right? I make my kids calculate their net worth, and some of the kids are worthless, right? We talk about, he said, listen, some of you guys are less than worthless. You owe money on a truck at 18 or whatever, but that's where you start. I make them circle it. I make them put it on the back page of the notebook and circle it and say, this is where I start.
Yep.
And then 30 years from now, I want you to, but I want you to remember that number. That's where you started. Where you at now, right? And that's where failure and defeat or whatever we may be calling it, this is all cyclical, right? I mean, every one of these lessons is, and I'm still learning them. I'm still trying them. I'm still failing or not achieving, but I'm still trying, man.
Oh, there's no perfect scenario. And I'll kind of just leave one quick thing on that, and then we're going to have to wrap it. But it's very interesting. I was talking to my class about I got involved in investing because most people don't notice, but it's an interesting point. When my mother passed away, it was just my father and my father was always treating people, always. He didn't make a lot of money, but he was always treating people. And I'd always say to him, Dad, what the heck are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing? He's like, you don't, you mind your own business, Craig. And I'm like, Dad, you're treating people that are millionaires here. Come on, man. Like let them pay their own dinner. He's like, you worry about you. One day I come home, I look on the kitchen table, and I was living someplace, but I came home. I look on the kitchen table, I see a credit card bill. Okay, $47,000. Now this is going back. This is going back almost 30 years ago, and I'm like, and of course, he's got a lot of pride.
Sure.
I'm like, Dad, you got a $47,000. What are you doing? Don't look at my mail. That's none of your business. I got it. And I'd be like, Dad, I wasn't trying to pry. It was just sitting right on the kitchen table. It was like right there. You got to claim bankruptcy. And he went nuts. He's like, I'm not doing that. That's for people who can't. And he went on, and ultimately, long story short, he did. He had no choice. I convinced him to do it. And it was the best thing
Yeah.
he could have ever done. But my point is that when I saw how he handled money, I was like, oh boy, I am never going to handle money like that. And that's like a really important message for people. Like, no, like, and I love how Tony said needs and investments and wants. I don't want to keep going, but that's a really, really important message. Like, your needs are first, your wants are last. I'm driving around in a 2009 Honda Accord. I want a new car, but I don't need a new car.
Right.
And at some point that'll change, but not for right now. Tony, let's do this, man. So I have your closing message. You remember what it was?
We did this back in the summer, right? So I
Here you go. If you see a need, fill it.
oh yeah.
What's that mean, brother?
So I believe we're all here to help each other, right? I believe we are truly all bound, right? I'm an energy stealer, right? I can feel when you're down or when you're, and be the person, right? Be the person. COVID hit and all that, and the kids are sitting around, and I got a garage. My car can sit outside. Open a gym, right? I mean, you see a need, you do it. Don't be afraid. Don't ever be afraid. And we see this all the time, man, with anything, and coaching, mentoring, whatever. You see it. Just help out. And we do. We live in a great community in the Warminster area where we have a ton of these folks. We do. So when you see it, man, you just don't be afraid to just step forward and say, you know what, man, I got this.
Awesome. Everybody, I'm going to leave you. Tony, stay on for a sec, bud, okay? So when I get off, just stay on.
Okay.
I'm going to leave you with Tony's other thing here. I love it. It's a great way to finish. First of all, everybody, before I forget, please consider subscribing to the podcast. We're on YouTube and Spotify, Cutting the Crap with Shap. If you'd like to be on the podcast with me, please reach out. I'd love to have you on. I take any guest, no matter what. I don't care what your opinions are. All are welcome, because that's how we grow, learn, get better as people. So you're more than welcome if you'd love to be on. I want to thank Tony. We're going to do a part 2, maybe a part 3, whatever we could do, because Tony is incredibly, I mean, he's so inspiring, brother, and passionate. I was picking up, like, people are going to watch him, like, man, a guy's so passionate. And that, you can't teach that. But here is the closing quote. Okay. Open up your garage door and let people in. Everybody, thank you so much for checking out Tony and I, Cutting the Crap with Shap. As I always say, you are awesome.